Hi, my name is Cody Crane and I'm 22 years old. My foot injury. I injured my foot when I was 10 years old. I was walking on a golf course. And we were going down this little slant. And as I was walking, I stepped into a pothole, but you couldn't really see it. It was covered by a long grass. And it turned out, if I remember right, I think it was like a good 2 feet deep. And since we were going downhill, I fell forward and it twisted my ankle while I was in there. So I ended up hobbling out of there, and then we ended up going to the doctor's office. They said it was not a big, but a minor kind of sprain on it. So they had me wrap it up, said stay off of it for a couple weeks, let it heal. And I ended up going back to the doctors a couple weeks later, and they said, oh, can you walk on it? And it seemed good. I'm like, yeah, it seems pretty good. And so they said, well, you can go ahead and use it and play on it and do things with it, because at the time that was right before my soccer season, because I played soccer every single year. And
Age?
I was 10. And it just, as I kept playing on it every single season, it seemed like there wasn't something right in there, because I kept re-spraining it and then it popped back in, and it felt looser. It didn't feel right to me. So I went back in the doctors after that season when I was 11, and they said, oh, it's just another minor sprain. Just stay off of it, don't do much with it and it'll be fine. Well, that progressed for probably until I was 14. Every single time, every single soccer season, I would sprain it again, so I'd just stay off of it and stay off it. Well, at that time, when I was 14, I was like, no, there's something else going on in here. So I went to the doctors. I'm like, okay, let's take x-rays. X-rays seem fine. Let's do an MRI. Let's see how it's going. Well, they seemed to find that, one, there was a fluid buildup in my arch, and it didn't allow the sprain to heal properly and go back properly. So that's why it was so easy to keep re-spraining and re-spraining. And then also during that time, it pushed down on my arch, so that way I was going flat-footed, and it made my Achilles tendon shorter. So they said that they wanted to go in, withdraw the fluid, take it out of there, and they wanted to put a splint on my arch to hold up my arch, so that way it could start going back to the normal arch. And they also wanted to extend my Achilles tendon because of it being shorter. They thought that by cutting it and stretching it out, that it would make it the normal size. So I ended up doing the surgery, and during this time I was off for about 3 months. That's what they predicted. They said, you'll be out. You can't walk on it for 3 months. You're gonna have to either use crutches, a wheelchair to get around, but you can't put any pressure, any weight on it. And that was pretty much it. For those 3 months, I was crutching around everywhere. I was being wheelchaired if I went to stores. I would, hop on one of those. I was in a boot cast, but I couldn't put any pressure on it. Well, during this time of my surgery, we ended up moving to a new place, to a new state, and it was at the beginning of summer, right after the end of school, that I had the surgery. And they said I would be fine by the time I went back to school, that I should be just in a boot or maybe, a little crutch for support, but I shouldn't be using it at all. Well, it turned out when I started school, which was the 3 months that they said I should stay off of it, I still couldn't walk it. I couldn't put on any pressure. And so I had to end up starting my sophomore year when I was 15, 16, going to a brand new school in a wheelchair. So that was fun, starting off a new school year, get hello in a new school in a wheelchair. But so I continued around, rolling around for another 2-3 months, it seemed, before I could put any pressure on it. It took a lot longer than they expected. They expected me to be in a wheelchair or crutches for 3 months, and then in another boot for 3 months after, for a total of 6 months. And It didn't seem that way. I tried it every day at home, trying putting a little pressure on while sitting on the edge of my bed or sitting down just to see if I could handle it before putting my full weight on. And it didn't feel right, so I didn't. And then about 3 months into the school year, I started walking on it very limited with using the boot that they provided. But I was only supposed to be in the boot for 3 months, but they said, no, keep it on for a couple more months and see how it does, because we still don't want to give you the full support. We want some support there. And so I booted around school for another 6 months. So it seemed that the whole first year that I was in a brand new school, I was in a wheelchair and a boot. So that was fun. Emotionally, it was terrifying. Starting off at a brand new school, not knowing anybody. You know, when you're in a wheelchair and you're in that type of environment, people are like, I don't know, people are kind of afraid of you in a way because they're afraid that you've got something. And they don't really talk to you that much. A few here and there, oh, what happened? Because I was in a cast so they could see something happen. But people are weird when it comes to being around wheelchairs, being around sickness or injuries. And it took quite a bit of the first year to actually start making friends, start, talking to people, start doing things. And then when I got out of the wheelchair, it was a little bit easier. People started asking more and more because, they could see something. But I was able to move around. But yeah, it was emotionally really hard because I didn't know anybody. Nobody was really talking to me. And I wasn't understanding why. I tried to talk, but not much. I kind of felt like an outcast. But after that, I was pretty much fine, I thought. But when I started walking around in the boot more, my foot didn't feel right. It was like there was something on the bottom of my foot that every time I put pressure on it, there's this constant pain or, just this pins and needles feeling. And so I went back to the doctor. He took an x-ray and they ended up putting the shim in wrong. That was to hold up my arch. It wasn't in the right spot. It wasn't even holding up my arch. It was just put in there really weird. And so they decided that to go back in and take it out. And then they said, the recovery, I'd be another 2 months probably in a boot because I need some more support because they're going back in there messing with the ankle. So I said, okay, if it's not even doing anything, it's just in there, you might as well just take it out. So I ended up doing that, and I spent the next couple months, going into summer in a boot again. And then, I don't know. During that time, my foot just still didn't feel right, but I thought, maybe doing physical therapy to get it strengthened back up and to, start walking it, using it more, because I just figured my muscles were not used to that motion. And so I did physical therapy for around a year, trying to get the strength back in the foot, back in my calf, back in that leg. And then, I don't know, something just still didn't feel right. I was having this pain, this constant pain, the pressure pain. Whenever I'd start to walk on it, it would go down the side of my foot. And I didn't understand it, so I ended up going back to the doctor. They prescribed medication saying, oh, here's some more painkillers. Here's some more, treatment options. They said we could do cortisone shots to help relieve it. I didn't understand it, and I don't think they really knew what was going on, but they just figured it would go away after I started getting used to it, so I was on pain medication, but it never seemed to really help. It seemed to take away that sharp pain, but it's just there was this throbbing pain. Even when I get off my foot, if I was on it for an hour and then I get off of it, it would just, I'd put it up, put ice on it, and it would still just be throbbing. And they ended up taking another MRI, and they said that I developed plantar fasciitis on the bottom of my foot, and that you could try to get rid of it with physical therapy, or you can go in and have it cut. And I thought, well, no, I want to try physical therapy anyway, not to cut again, to go back in there, because I'd have to be in another boot for who knows how long. So I ended up going to physical therapy for another year and a half, tried different variety of methods, trying to stretch it out, trying to loosen it, trying to get it to go away, but it never seemed to help. It just always seemed like it was that same amount of pain no matter what I did, no matter what I took. So I ended up going back to the doctor saying, okay, let's try the surgery and see how that helps. So we planned it. He said I'd probably be in a boot for another 3 months again. So when they went in there afterwards, he said that it was really thick. It was a thick strand that it was hard to get at, so it took some time, so they had to really cut away at it. But I was in another boot. He said stay off of it for a month, don't really walk on it. You know, I was back in crutches because it was hard to get around. It was difficult. So, and I didn't probably stop using the crutches until about my 3rd month is when I could actually start walking on it with a boot again fully. And then I spent probably another 2 months in the boot without the crutches, and then I was able to walk on my own. But there was still this pain in the bottom of my foot. It was like the golf ball size of pain in my foot, in the heel, and they said, oh, that it was scar tissue from the surgery, that it would go away. You know, you go back to physical therapy, they can do stuff. Just keep working at it. The more you walk on it, the more it'll go away because it'll just dissolve, basically. Well, so during this time I went back to physical therapy, and they started working on it, trying different methods to get rid of it, and I was taking more and more pain medication because it just seemed that every time I'd step on it, it was like stepping on needles and pins. It was just this sharp pain that went up my leg, through my bones. It was terrible. And see, even even being able to sit down or put up my foot or ice it, there was still this throbbing pain afterwards for at least a good half an hour to an hour that it would just ache and it would just radiate up my leg, and it's hard. It was hard to move around. It was hard to do things. It was hard to go out into the world and hang with friends, or just travel, or even go to the store, to walk around the store. And then I'd walk around the store for around 45 minutes to about an hour, and then I'd be down for the rest of the day because of the pain, and I wouldn't be able to get back up on it until probably a good hour and a half afterwards. After the pain went away, it's probably a good half an hour afterwards until I could stand back up on it. But it wasn't brand new. It was still that dull pain. It was just a little bit less dull pain, so I could walk around, maneuver a little bit, go get some food, or go to the bathroom, or, it was, emotionally it was hard. It was because of being down, not being able to do things. I'm in, my teenage years where I'm supposed to be going out having fun with friends, going and doing things, and I wasn't. I was sitting at home most of the time. I was in bed, or, sitting down constantly, trying to not cause any more pain because I didn't want to be in pain. I'd wake up in pain. I'd take my first step and all of a sudden be reminded that I'm going to be in pain today, that it's going to hurt, because the first thing I would do is step on that leg and there would be a jolt. And it felt like it was so tight that I had to loosen it by walking it around. But as soon as I got it loosened in the morning, it started pain. It was that pins and needles again, that throbbing. And so I'd spend most of my day at home. And some days I would never go out. I wouldn't do anything. I'd just sit, watch movies, play video games, or be on the internet, just sitting all the time. And it was hard. I didn't do anything. Friends stopped wanting to hang out because I wasn't able to go do activities, or if I was, I'd have to sit once in a while if we were walking around a mall or going to an amusement park. Amusement parks were hard. I ended up going a couple times with them, but 90% of my time I was finding a bench or finding somewhere to sit while they went off on the rides, because sometimes you'd spend an hour or two sitting in line, and I couldn't do that unless I just wanted to sit on the floor. But you'd stand and just wait for this, and then you go on a quick ride, and then you walk somewhere else to go stand in line, and it was hard. So I'd go on one ride here, and then let them go on a few more rides, and, it wasn't fun. It wasn't enjoyable. It was just more of a pain, and the emotional is just like, why can't I do this? Why why am I not able to hang out? Why am I not able to do these things? And, you know, you spend all this time in physical therapy where they're supposed to help you get rid of it, and it's not going away. And so I went back to the doctor another time. He kept saying, well, we can give you cortisone shots to relieve the pain and see if it helps this time, because it needs a buildup. You have to get a couple in. Well, but you can't do them, you know, so recent with each other. You have to do them at least 1 to 2 months apart. And so it was more painkillers. It was more, you know, medicine that was just not helping in any way, but it was more of a, just here, try this, do this, because we don't know exactly what's going on. And so I was lost. I wasn't able to do anything. I wasn't able to get out and live, you know, and during this time I'm 18, 19, 20 years old, and I'm starting to think, well, I have to get a job. What can I do? What career path can I go down? You know, if I went to college, what career can I choose? I have to choose something where I have to sit all day long, where I can't stand, where I can't move around much. You know, if I were to get a job, you know, so I could pay for college, there's not much I could do. Most of the jobs require me standing or, you know, moving, lifting, and it was hard to do that because I wouldn't be up for maybe an hour a day. And so it took a toll on me physically, mentally, emotionally, you know, not being able to go out and experience the world.